tuned in.
You are now tuned into
the realest show on YouTube with your host, the Angryman.
So, what's good? What's going on, everybody? We back in the building. I see we got some K-Bots in here. What's going on, K-Bots? How y'all been? I know it's been tough watching the Angryman without being able to chat in the chat room. I decided to allow you to be able to chat in the chat room for this one, because we definitely want to hear your opinions, and we definitely want to get your reactions from some of the things that I'm going to say, because I'm going to break down the main reason why you think K.Dot won. And the main reason why you hate Drake. It's actually the same reason that a lot of you are Kamala Harris supporters. It's also the same reason why you hate Donald Trump. It's not because it's your genuine opinion. It's not because it's your genuine opinion. It's because you're stupid. I hate to be the bearer of bad news, but there are some people in this world that propaganda doesn't work on. And unfortunately, the vast majority of people are susceptible to propaganda, gaslighting, and manipulation. There is only a small percentage of people who actually can withstand propaganda and can see the BS for what it really is. Let me start off by addressing the vicious lie that people love to tell about Drake on a regular basis. First and foremost, a lot of you niggas are not industry niggas. You don't know anything about the music industry except what you see on, social media and television and YouTube or whatever, right? It's the same thing. It's the same thing with politics. A lot of you individuals don't know anything about politics. You don't know the ins and outs of politics. You just know what you're told and what you see. Same thing with the music industry. Because you'll do something that is, quite frankly, the dumbest shit in the world, which is you'll go to a song and you'll look at the credits, and because you see co-writers or people that have a co-writing credit, you think they wrote the entire song. That's how stupid you are. Okay? Now, the rumor about Drake doesn't write his own material started because Meek Mill was hating on Drake. So Meek Mill jumped out there in a tweet and pointed out that Quentin was one of Drake's writers. The problem that you don't get is that Quentin is a co-writer. There's a difference between a co-writer and a ghostwriter. See, if it was a ghostwriter, there wouldn't even be a credit up there. That's why it's called ghostwriter. It's somebody who writes but doesn't get any credit for it. So number one, you don't have any proof that somebody ghost writes for Drake. All you have is Meek Mill word. The word of a dude who gets online and says some of the dumbest shit known to man. Now, what you do have as proof is you have Kanye West saying that if he could, he would have Drake write his entire albums for him. But see, here's the funny thing. You never want to give Drake credit when he writes for somebody. But you love to jump out there and say everybody wrote Drake's music. And unlike everybody else, I'm not going to keep it hip hop. I'm not going to keep it to the music industry because I know why you hateful, bigoted Negroes act like that. You don't like Drake because he's half white. Period. Point blank, period. End of discussion. You don't like him because he's half white. Because I've said it so many times before. If he was dark skinned like Kanye West, you wouldn't give a damn who writes his shit. Because I've never heard any of you Negroes talk trash about Kanye, and it's clear Kanye doesn't write half of his stuff. When Kanye puts out an album that's a good album, you know what you do? You give him credit for it, and you keep it moving. That's what you do. Shout out to Omar. He said the Party Next Door show I went to end of last month was fire. The you know what's was outside that night. AM Trust. Drake definitely wrote for Wayne, and you Negroes call Wayne the GOAT, right? Tell me what part of what I said is a lie. Tell me what part of what I said is a lie. See, here's the thing. I've said this before and I'll say it again. Every successful rap artist that doesn't become stale has a team of people that help them with their music. And you got some sanctimonious Negroes that run around here trying to pretend like they write all of their lyrics. If they're successful, they're lying. They're lying. You ever like an artist when they first came out, first album was fire, and you notice after that first album, with each album, it progressively gets worse or it gets stale? Or it seems like they're saying the same old thing, and it seems like, they're falling off or whatever. The reason why is because those are the artists that write all of their music. Those are the artists that want to be pure artists. See, I remember in the 90s, there was this huge debate about what a freestyle was. People would say, well, if you write your lyrics, it's not a freestyle. When back in the day, everybody that freestyle wrote their lyrics. A freestyle was just a rap that wasn't in song form. That's all a freestyle was. But see, people don't know that because people are stupid. Now, as far as this Drake, Kendrick back and forth, right? Kendrick didn't beat Drake. The people did. I'm going to say that again. Kendrick did not defeat Drake. The people did. Which people am I talking about? Black culture. Black culture decided before the beef even started that they were going to side with Kendrick, which meant it wouldn't have mattered if Drake wrote his lyrics with a pen from God. It wouldn't have mattered if God wrote his lyrics. You were still going to try to give Kendrick the win, no matter how lackluster his music was. And it was lackluster. It was, which is the main reason why Kendrick, somebody who is known for lyricism, is being attributed with a win for a song that's a bop and not a lyrical song. Now, the irony of this is everything you try to use to discredit Drake, which is, oh, y'all just focused on numbers. I find it ironic that when it was Drake with the high numbers, or whenever it's Drake with the high numbers, because we know he consistently has high numbers, the first thing that flies out of y'all's mouth is numbers don't make you a great artist. But when you look at the back and forth between Drake and Kendrick, you want to say Kendrick won because of the numbers of Not Like Us. Which one is it? Which one is it? When the beef first started, many of you said the only thing Drake is going to do is he's going to put out a pop album. He's going to put out an album that you can dance to, something catchy with a catchy hook, and then everybody's going to say Drake won, and you propose that as if that was cheating. Only to have your man K-Dot turn around and do exactly what y'all accused Drake of potentially doing. And once he did that and got a bop with a catchy hook that you could dance to, that did numbers, you gave him the crown off of one song, which basically was the format that Drake uses most of the time. So if that one song in that format got you giving Kendrick the crown, how are you dismissing every single time Drake has done that? More effectively than Kendrick, by the way. Far as I can tell, Drake has owned like 10 summers. Let's see. Clinton Lewis said, I love your content, brother, but you lost me with this one, this take for sure. And you know what, Clinton? I love your comments, but you lost me with this comment for sure. Have fun in the gulag. Check this out. For those of you that say you love my content and you rock with my content, but you're upset with me because of my take on the K-Dot versus Drake thing, you can kiss my ass. And go fuck yourself. See, the reason why your constant campaigning to get me to say Drake lost, your constant peer pressure to get me to say K-Dot won, the reason why it won't work on me, because peer pressure has never worked on me. I am not the typical Negro. I'm not like y'all. Okay? Not like y'all. I didn't start drinking lean because it got popular. I didn't join a gang because it got popular. I don't do any of the ass ignorant nigga things that you do because it's popular. And that's all this is. I know you. I know you like I know the back of my hand. I was brought up in the culture with you. I've watched you do this on numerous occasions with numerous things. And it's always to your detriment. There's actually an underlying psychological thing when it comes to this. Whoever you deem, see, this is how I know you believe Drake is on top. Because as black people, you never like the person that's on top. You always like the underdog. Give me one example of a successful person that is on top, that is above everybody else on every level that you actually root for. I'll wait. Give me one. Give me one example. Give me one example. Give me one. You said maybe Jordan. They can't stand Michael Jordan. They can't stand Michael Jordan. Every chance they get, they talk about him being an asshole. They talk about how black people is ignorant because they buy his sneakers. Every chance they get. They can't stand Jay-Z. I can't even go on Facebook without somebody posting some kind of hateful rhetoric about how Jay-Z isn't a top rapper and people don't listen to him. You said they love K-Dot. K-Dot ain't on top. How is K-Dot on top? K-Dot is only on top in the minds of niggas. How is he on top? How's he on top? Explain to me how K-Dot is on top. And I hope to God you're not going to talk about his Grammys. I hope and pray that you niggas from the culture that claim to be so real aren't about to judge K-Dot off of the Grammys. I hope you're not about to do that. I hope you're not about to do that. Any person that starts out as an underdog, you love them to death. See, people have this psychological thing in society where they love to see an underdog rise, and then they love to see them fall once they've reached the pinnacle of whatever they've reached. So you love the person that's considered to be the underdog. But when they reach a level of success that is ridiculous, you then turn around and begin to hate that person. You do it every time. And the reason why you do it is because niggas have been psychologically programmed to hate success. You're psychologically programmed to hate success and love the struggle. So as long as the person is an underdog and they are struggling to get to the top, you love them because they're in the struggle. Once they get to the top and it appears they no longer have a struggle, that's when you start hating them. And I see somebody brought up Barack Obama. You can't bring up Barack Obama. And the reason why you can't bring up Barack Obama is because you still view him in the struggle because he's a black candidate going up against the white supremacy system. So you still view him as in the struggle. The only way Barack Obama could not be in the struggle is if he crowned himself king. You feel me? If he was able to crown himself king and no longer had any white opposition, then you would start to hate him. Mogul May said, once you reach a certain bracket, the hate comes hard to elevate people if their minds aren't right. Side note, I was in Philly, beyond embarrassing. Shout out to James. He said, what's up, brother? You said Michael Jackson? By the time Michael Jackson left here, y'all was calling him a pedo, the same way you were calling Drake a PDF file. By the time Michael Jackson left here, many of you believed that he was messing with underage children. Shout out to Sean. He said, and it's only the men that get that treatment you're speaking to. The women don't do that to Beyonce and women at the top. Of course not. Of course not. Of course not. Of course not. I mean, you can get mad at me if you like. You can get upset if you like. The truth is the truth. The truth is the truth. The truth is the truth. Because Drake enjoyed a lot of love when he first started. You know when everybody started hating Drake? When he signed that contract for an estimated $450 million. That's when you started hating Drake. You know when you started hating Jay-Z? When he became a billionaire. Same thing with Puffy. Shout out to Sean. He said another donation for the typo. My bad. Appreciate you, bro. So what I plan to do today is I've been planning this for a while. I wanted to break down psychologically the connection that Drake and Donald Trump have. Now, most people will be like, well, that's kind of weird, Angry Man. They don't really have a connection. They do, even if they don't know it. The same way K. Dot and Kamala have a connection. You feel me? And it's really weird because Kamala should be connected to Drake, considering the fact that Kamala is supposed to be mixed, right? The way Drake is mixed. You feel what I'm saying? The reason why Kamala doesn't get the Drake treatment per se is because of the way the propaganda is pushed. All right? See, the reason why Kamala doesn't get the Drake treatment is because Kamala is pretending to be a champion for black people. Drake never pretended to be a champion for black people. Drake just pretty much does his music. He has done music that spoke to certain issues, even though people say that he doesn't, right? But K Dot pretends to be a champion for black people. And that's the reason why the same propaganda that's working for K Dot also works for Kamala Harris, even though it shouldn't. It shouldn't. Logically, it shouldn't, but it does, because that's the way propaganda works, because propaganda is logical when you break down the steps of propaganda, but the effects it has on people, the way people process it, is not logical, right? So for those of you that's like, oh, Angryman tripping, Angryman reaching, let me break it down in layman's terms and make it simplistic so you can understand. Pro-blackness, Kamala, Kendrick Lamar. White supremacy, colonizer, super rich, Drake, Donald Trump. That's how black people view it, even if they don't know they're viewing it that way. Y'all with me so far? Y'all with me so far? You view Drake the same way you view Donald Trump, as a colonizer, as a person that's disingenuous, as a person that's oppressive. Now, the irony of it is Donald Trump has actually done a lot for black people within the realm of politics, the same way Drake has done a lot for black people within the music industry. But the same way that Donald Trump rarely ever gets credit for what he does for black people within politics, Drake rarely ever gets credit for what he does for black people within the music industry. While on the flip side, K Dot doesn't do shit for anybody in the music industry, the same way Kamala Harris hasn't done shit for anybody within politics. Am I wrong? Am I wrong? And I know what some of you gonna say. Oh my God, why does Angryman keep talking about this? Why does he keep? And see, I'm gonna tell you something. The K Dot fans, you know the reason why they want me to stop talking about this? Because they know that if we keep talking about it, eventually people will start to see it for what it really is. It's the same thing with Trump and Kamala. If you talk about it, see, the cure to propaganda is education. The cure to propaganda is truth and clear-cut logic. That is the cure to propaganda. Now, the reason why I showed you guys the video at the beginning of the show from the movie Clerks, that scene in Clerks is a perfect example of how propaganda works so well on the average everyday person. The scene starts out where this guy comes into the store and he buys a pack of gum and a coffee. And when people come in there to buy cigarettes, he starts going on a rant about how cigarettes are harmful and how cigarettes, do this and do that. And these evil corporations want you to smoke cigarettes and die and blah, 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 right? He's got all of the customers riled up. But what the customers don't realize is he doesn't care about their health. He doesn't care about their longevity. He's a representative for Chewlie's Gum, and he's trying to discourage people from smoking cigarettes so that they'll buy more gum. But the irony of it is, it worked. And the reason why is because the way propaganda works is you take something that is true and you use it for a nefarious purpose. So he's taking the fact that cigarettes are bad for you, which is true. That's going to tug on the emotional strings of any person. And he's using that to his advantage, not because he wants the people to be more healthy, but because he wants those people to chew the gum the gum from the company that he works for. Right? Now, the irony of it is, towards the end of that scene, when the girl comes in and sprays the fire extinguisher, kind of waking the people up. It's like, yo, who started this angry mob? You see the guy tipping out of the door, right? And she goes up to him and she says, show me some credentials. And she's like, you're a representative for Chewly Gum. So is this why you're riling these people up? So they'll stop buying cigarettes and buy more of y'all's chewing gum? And he's like, yeah. And she runs him out of there and she's like, yo, what's wrong with you mindless automatons? Start thinking for yourself. And guess what? Right after she says that, one of the guys that was in the mob, that was being manipulated, that was throwing cigarettes at old boy behind the counter, he's still in there. He puts his money on the counter. He says, pack of cigarettes. That quick. All it took was a guy to come in there and rile him up. Now they're calling Dante a Nazi. And by the way, you should be weary of anybody that uses Nazis for their arguments. You should be weary of anybody that uses that moment in history to try to deter you from somebody. Right? The same way you should be weary of anybody that tries to use PDF file to deter you from somebody. See, there are some things in this world that are so egregious to be that all you got to do is accuse the other person of that, and it will make everybody hate that person, even if it isn't true. This is part of the reason why they keep calling Donald Trump, you know who, that guy with the short mustache. Because anytime you make these associations with certain people and certain activities, there isn't going to be anything they can say to defend themselves. Because the moment they start to defend themselves, it makes them sound like they're guilty. It's kind of like when you call a white guy a racist and he says, I'm not a racist. I dated black women. The moment he says that, it makes him sound more racist. I've got a black friend. The moment he says that, it makes him sound more racist. Why? Because a racist is an egregious thing to be in this society. A PDF file is an egregious thing to be in this society. A Nazi is certainly an egregious thing to be in this society. Right? But all it took was that guy to come into that store and start accusing Dante of all of that crazy stuff. And now everybody in there that usually buys cigarettes are throwing cigarettes at him, calling him a cancer merchant. But the moment they found out the motive behind why the guy was doing it, oh, that's why he was doing it? Let me get a pack of cigarettes. That means that not only was the guy that was spreading the propaganda, not only did he not care about their health, but they didn't care about their health. This is how easily people are manipulated. Right? This is how easy that people are manipulated. Shout out to Herman. Appreciate you. This is how easy they manipulate it. Oh yeah. You thinking now. Hmm? Yeah. 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 Now, I would love for someone thus far to refute the knowledge I'm dropping. Because I'm going to tie it all together. I'm going to tie it in. I mean, K Dot and Drake aren't the biggest issue. The Kamala Trump thing is the biggest issue. Well, really, to be truthfully honest, the overall biggest issue is the fact that people more often than not operate like sheep. They go in whatever direction they're herded in, right? Now, I don't know what reason black culture decided to cape for K Dot so hard. But the one thing I can tell you is this. The way K Dot operated in that beef was definitely a page from propaganda. It was definitely propaganda. Okay? Why is that? Because what K Dot did, instead of it just being a regular rap battle, what he did is he went straight for morality. Everything that he accused Drake of had to do with morality, decency, and racism. Okay? Morality, decency, and racism. Guess what? Guess what the Democrats are using against Donald Trump? Morality, decency, and racism. I mean, the way the media has been calling Trump a felon is no different than the way K Dot's camp was calling Drake a pedo. And here's the other part that they do that nobody wants to acknowledge. Do you notice how they're using peer pressure in a way where if you don't agree with their position, it's like they're going to ostracize you from the group. So if you were a person that said, well, I feel like Drake won, the K Dot fans would then immediately start using sign language. Right? Right? Shame, insults, guilt, and a need to be right. The G is guilt, right? But basically, they'll look at you and say, oh, if you think Drake won, something's wrong with you. If you think Drake won, that means you condone pedos, even though he's never been charged with something like that. Oh, if you think Drake won, you're not for the culture. If you think Drake won, you're compromised. If you think Drake won, they may as well have just said, if you think Drake won, you ain't black. I mean, that's what the Democrats are using. You literally got Ricky Smiley jumping on the radio talking about some, I don't know what's wrong with black people. Why you not supporting Kamala? You got Uncle Luke over there telling black men they need to come back home to the Democratic Party. It's the same peer pressure. It's the same rhetoric. Which tells me that 9 times out of 10, if you fell for the peer pressure that K. Dot won, you're probably also a Kamala Harris supporter. I'm willing to bet more often than not, if you feel like K. Dot won, you're probably also a Kamala Harris supporter. And guess what? The same way, none of the Kamala Harris supporters can tell us why they support her other than the fact that she's supposed to be black. You can't tell me why K. Dot won. That's where the problem is. Every time I've asked any of these dudes, how did K. Dot win? They immediately start talking about what Drake supposedly did wrong, or what Drake's faults are, or what Drake's issues are, or what Drake is accused of. It's the same thing with Kamala Harris. If you ask the Democrats what makes Kamala a good candidate and what has she done, they will immediately start talking about what Trump didn't do, immediately start talking about how Trump is raggedy. Guess what? The first night of the DNC, they said Trump's name 147 times. For all of the nights of the RNC, they said Biden's name twice. Twice. Lucchese said over 50. Appreciate you. Mogul May said the same shaming tactics that the Dems utilize on the black community, and it has worked for over 50 years, much to the detriment of ourselves. This space has awakened so many. Much thanks to you. Appreciate you, bro. Sneak Dissing TV said, let me pull this up on the screen. Sneak Dissing TV said, I'm confused by what you saying comparing Trump to Kendrick. You losing me. It's okay. It's because you're stupid. You don't comprehend well. Because up to this point in the show, I can honestly say beyond a reason of a doubt that I have made the correlation perfectly. Anybody with basic knowledge and common sense can see the connection that I'm talking about. Press 1 in the chat room if you guys see the unlikely connection that I'm making. Press 1 in the chat room if you guys see the dots I'm connecting. See, if you can't see what the connections that I'm making right now, it means that you're more susceptible to propaganda. It means you don't really think for yourself. That's what it means. It means that you don't really think for yourself. Because it's plain to see. It's right there in front of your face. It's right there in front of your face. In fact, let's see. Give me 1 second. Let's get to these. Let's get to these cash apps before we do anything else. I'm gonna show y'all how propaganda works in a second. Shout out to JC. Appreciate you. Shout out to Christopher. He said AM in the AM. Shout out to Roderick. He said, I know you fitting to cook AM. Shout out to INP. Says salute AM in the AM. Support the show. Shout out to Dark Power. Shout out to Terrell. He said too many hits niggas refuse to acknowledge. Shout out to Bruce Almighty. He said Drake and Savage tag team champs 1-2 punch. Shout out to Cynthia. Said starting from the bottom, now we here. Shout out to Danielle. Said love the light skin energy on this Sunday afternoon. Shout out to Hey Jay. He said Drake, aka Big Drizzy. Shout out to Andre. He said you ain't doing it right if you ain't hated AM. That's facts. Shout out to Sean. He said thanks for the stream. Shout out to Roger. He said keep cooking AM. It's undeniable. Appreciate you. Dudes want to come in here and tell me they don't see the connection. You don't see the connection. If there's no connection, then why were they playing Not Like Us at the DNC? Can somebody answer that question for me? Shout out to Philip. Appreciate you. Why were they playing Not Like Us at the DNC? Why did Kamala Harris say out of her own mouth, they not like us? Why did that happen? Why did that happen? And it's okay if some of you don't get it. It's okay if some of you ain't sharp enough to see what's going on. Because I can see it for you. Here's the connection. Here's the connection. Since the brother said he didn't understand, I'm gonna take one more jab at it to see if you can understand this, right? Anybody in this country that wants to get black people, the culture, on their side, all they have to do is accuse their opposition of something that black people despise. And then prop themselves up as the champion for black people. Say it again. Anybody in this country that wants the support of black people, all they have to do is accuse their opposition of something that we culturally despise, and then prop themselves up as the champion for black people. It's what K-Dot did. It's what Kamala is currently doing. Does that make sense? Now, the reason why you know propaganda will override the average person's logic is because they played Not Like Us at the DNC, and they also had Kamala Harris say they not like us. The only problem is that song is talking about Kamala Harris and the entire DNC. But black folk are still eating it up. Black folk are still buying it. That's how you know that the average person that is falling for the propaganda does not have a high comprehension level. The same people that told us that Drake wasn't black no matter what color his father is, even though we know for a fact he got a black father, are telling us that Kamala's black even though her father is in question. Make that make sense. Make that make sense. And guess what? Even if Kamala's father were black, it doesn't matter because she's not culturally black, which is what you accuse Drake of. So how are you supporting her, but you hate Drake? The worst thing that could have happened in this election year was that Drake K. Dot beef, because it exposed you niggas. It exposed you. It exposed you. D. Davidson said he's not American. Oh. So black folks celebrate American culture now? What does him not being American have to do with anything? Most of you niggas won't even call yourself American. When you were hating on Drake, were you defending black culture or American culture? Which one? Which one? See, the reason why you niggas can't win arguments is because the entire black culture is filled with nothing but contradictions. Black culture has never touted itself to be American. In fact, black culture, for the most part, has always been anti-American. So now all of a sudden, Drake not being American is a knock against him? In the eyes of black culture? Since when? Since when? And you can't be the same niggas that love Haitians, love Jamaicans. Where's all of this he's not American rhetoric when Idris Damson played Freeway Ricky in Snowfall? Where was all this he's not American rhetoric when Idris played Stringer Bell as a West Baltimore drug dealer? Where's all of this he's not American rhetoric when the countless black folk that were not born in America get roles as black Americans? King Jess said, hold on for a second. King Jess, hold on for a second. Let's pull this message up. King Jess said Trump is still trash. Would you like me to drop the link so you can come up here and explain to me how? Would you like to come up here and tell me how he's trash? I can drop the link. I can drop the link. Would you like me to drop the link? King Jess? No, it's Sunday. I'll save my anger for the work week. Somebody do me a favor. Kick his ass out of my chat room. Kick him out of my chat room. Shout out to CZ. He said, salute, my brother. Appreciate you. See, here's the thing. A lot of people come over here and they say, oh, Angryman have members only because he doesn't respect other people's opinions. Angryman wants an echo chamber. Angryman doesn't like it when people disagree with him. But every single time I offer to drop the link for you to come up here and give your difference of opinion, when I drop the link and offer for you to come up here and substantiate your argument, and oppose my argument and give you a voice on a 727,000 sub channel, you niggas decline it. So you can't accuse me of having an echo chamber. You can't accuse me of not entertaining dissenting viewpoints, because every time I give you the opportunity to come up here and say what's on your mind, you decline it. How often have y'all seen that? BINO Nation, how often have y'all seen me give these naysayers and detractors the opportunity to come up and substantiate their argument? How often have I given them this opportunity and they haven't taken it? It's plain to see. It's plain to see. You know you can't defeat my argument. My argument is too logical. You may not agree with it, and that's fine. That's your opinion. But if you can't agree with it, just say, I don't agree with it, and keep it pushing, keep it moving. But don't jump in my chat room and make statements that you're not willing to back up with facts. And for that, brother, we see that the propaganda is working. He came in here and said Trump is trash, like him and Trump had a squabble before. He came in here and said Trump is trash, like Trump punched him in the back of his head or something. He don't know that man from a can of paint, don't know that man's history, don't know nothing except what the TV tell him. Don't know nothing except what the TV tell them. And some of these people are so stupid that they will believe the rhetoric over their own reality. They will believe the rhetoric and the propaganda over their own reality. Now, what is propaganda? Well, there's a guy by the name of Jason Stanley that has a book titled How Propaganda Works. Here's some of the key points from his book. Number one, propaganda is defined as the employment of a political idea against itself. It uses the language and concepts of democracy to undermine democratic ideas. I'm going to say it again. Propaganda is defined as the employment of a political ideal against itself. It uses the language and concepts of democracy to undermine democratic ideas. What's a good example of this? A good example of this is constantly claiming that someone else is trying to destroy democracy as if you are the champion for democracy when really you're the one trying to destroy democracy. It's taking away people's freedom under the guise of safety, when taking a person's freedom away actually makes them less safe. You with me? Am I losing anybody? It's like claiming to champion reproductive rights when really your agenda is to shut down reproduction. Saying that you care about a group of people, and right after that, you park a Planned Parenthood mobile unit outside of your convention so that people can go and engage in that behavior. And for those of you that say, well, Angryman, how you tying this into Kendrick? It's easy. It's like when Kendrick tells you he's what the culture's feeling, and then his ass vanishes for the next 3 years. It's that type of crap. It's trying to kick Drake out of hip hop when you have absolutely no intention of replacing him as far as the frequency with which he puts music out. It's calling him a colonizer as if he's trying to make money off of black people when he literally gives fairly unknown artists features for free. Those artists then are able to create careers from Drake's popularity. In other words, it's them trying to demonize somebody when really they're finessing you out of a blessing. It's like, oh, Donald Trump doesn't care about black people. But if Donald Trump had gotten into office in 2020, he had the platinum plan, which was for black people. It's like Kendrick saying, they not like us. We don't like Drake. Ain't that right, Future? Ain't that right, Ross? Ain't that right, A$AP Rocky? Ain't that right, everybody? And everybody jumps on Kendrick's side. And then after the fact, Kendrick don't do no features with them, and they can't go back to Drake to get features. So guess what? Now they losing money. The same way K-Dot is turning all these rappers against Drake, he's not going to give them what Drake is willing to give them that will help their careers flourish. The same way Kamala's turning you against Trump, but she's not going to give you none of what Trump is willing to give you that will help you in society. But it don't matter, because at the end of the day, it's not about logic, it's about your feelings. And you feel that Donald Trump is a racist, so you can't rock with him. You got to rock with Kamala. You feel that Drake is a colonizer, so you can't rock with him. You got to rock with K-Dot. And here's the funny thing. Some of you that fell for the propaganda, you've started to wake up. How do I know you started to wake up? Because you want to switch positions, but you don't want people to see that you were dumb enough to fall for the okie doke. So now your pride is wrapped up in it. There are some of you that now realize, you know what? Drake really won this thing. But you don't want black folk mad at you. So you ain't gonna say that. So what do people get on their platforms and say? Man, Drake is really cooking. Now, don't get me wrong. I'm not saying that K-Dot didn't win. But I'm just saying, your boy Drake is really dropping. He's really dropping. You know, that dubious opinion. It's the same thing with the Trump thing. Now that you see what the Democrats are doing, and you see they don't got no agenda, and you hearing some of the stuff Trump's saying, and it's like, wow, that sounds really good. So now you're jumping out there saying, well, you know, Trump actually got an agenda, and, you know, and I'm not saying I'm a Trump supporter. I'm just saying, I'm not saying I'm a Trump supporter. But Kamala ain't really gave us an agenda. Because you more worried about what people think instead of saying the truth. Shout out to Sean. He said, man, hit the Cash App and the damn like button for this Sunday service. See, the same way you got folks out here that don't want to say Kamala's full of it and Trump is a better option is because they don't want black people mad at him. The same way a lot of people are saying we need Drake. They don't want to say we need Drake in the culture more than K-Dot because they don't want black people mad at him. It's the same shit. It is the same shit. And see, most of you ain't gonna make that connection. That's why you need the Angryman to make that connection for you. And by the way, I predict that some content creators that are larger than me or have bigger platforms than me, they're going to steal this. So you might as well get ready. The same way Dr. Umar stole my whole comparison of Drake and Kamala Harris. They're going to steal it. Even though some of you will sit in here and say Angry Man don't know what he's talking about, but then when that bigger name says it, you're gonna be like, he has a point. Shout out to KGY. Y'all ever notice that? You ever notice when Angry Man say something, Angry Man don't know what the hell he talking about? Whenever Angry Man say something, oh, Angry Man tripping, Angry Man reaching. But then somebody more popular says it, all of a sudden, it's the most profound shit you ever heard in your life. Number two, the second key that you can take away from how propaganda works. Stanley distinguishes between two types of propaganda: supporting propaganda, which elicits emotion without reason to support an ideal, and undermining propaganda, which uses an ideal to undermine that same ideal. Right? Two parts. So the first part, supporting propaganda, which elicits emotion without reason to support an ideal. This happened when they told you Kamala was black and Donald Trump was racist. Right? Supporting propaganda. They tell you something to elicit an emotion without any reason to support what it is they're saying. Like K-Dot saying that Drake is a colonizer. Emotionally, black people are going to be upset about that because black people don't like colonizers. But there's no reason to support that. There's no reason to support that. Like the Democrats saying that Trump is going to become a dictator when he becomes president. There's no reason to support that because he didn't become a dictator when he was president last time. Then you got undermining propaganda, which uses an ideal to undermine the same ideal. This is like Kendrick saying he's what the culture's feeling, but the very thing he's doing is hurting the culture. How? By saying that a light-skinned black person is not like us. Because guess what, Kendrick? If you want to stake the claim that a light-skinned, half-white, Canadian, nerdy guy is not like us, you then need to explain why a light-skinned, half-white, nerdy Canadian dude is outperforming all of you niggas that was raised in the culture. But most people don't think. Most people are not intelligent, so they're not going to think that. That's like Michael Jordan. That's like somebody saying Michael Jordan ain't no real ball player. Well, then how the hell is he outperforming all of you? If you're the real ball player and he's the phony, how is he outperforming you? Undermining propaganda, which uses an ideal to undermine the same ideal. That's the Democrats claiming that they're about democracy when they're really about communism. Shout out to Akiak. He said dictators aren't voted in there, they placed there. Who voted for Kamala to be the Democratic nominee? Sound like projection we saw last 4 years. Exactly. Exactly. They're placed there. The same way niggas placed Kendrick on the throne. The same way niggas placed a crown on Kendrick's head. Does he deserve it? Does he deserve it? I didn't know you could be king and disappear for years at a time. In order to be king, you got to show your face. And here's another thing. One of his most popular lines. Sometimes you got to pop out and show niggas. Drake don't got to pop out because he's always showing niggas. That's the difference. You shouldn't have to pop out and show niggas if you the king. If you the king, your presence is felt. Always. Why would the king have to pop out and show niggas? The king is going to make sure he's seen. His face is going to be on the money. Whenever there's events, he's going to come out on the balcony. He's going to preside over events. He's going to hold court. Where he sits on the throne and people come into the throne room and ask him for things. See, a king actually serves his people. K-Dot don't serve nobody but himself. There's no such thing as a K-Dot stimulus package. There's a Drake stimulus package. And K-Dot is all too familiar with that because he benefits from that stimulus package. I said, let him cook. You can get mad at me, but the only thing you gonna be is mad because you're not gonna be right. And even as we speak right now, there are other people that are enjoying the Drake stimulus. Even as we speak right now, shout out to Hannibal. The reason why Drake puts out music at the frequency that he does is because he can. Because he can. The reason why K-Dot doesn't is because he can't. If K-Dot attempted to put out music at the same frequency as Drake, you would then realize what the rest of us already know. He's not as talented as Drake. If K-Dot put out an album every year, you would have been sick of him. You would have been sick of him. K-Dot has to sit somewhere for an extended period of time and gather his energy. And really, the only reason why you be thinking that his stuff is like that is because you're fiending for it. If you're a fan of his, you're being starved. And guess what? If you're starving, a damn stale biscuit out of a trash can is going to taste good. Meanwhile, you've been eating Drake's meals every damn year and it still tastes good. That's the difference. That's the difference. Now, with the Democrats, you had Barack Obama for 8 years. You had Joe Biden for almost 4 years. You had Trump for 4. You Negroes want to blame Trump for the economy when you've basically had the Democrats, the Obama-Biden administration, for 12 years out of the last 16. You explain to me how you can blame Trump when you've had Obama and Biden for 12 years out of the last 16. And in that 16 years, the only time you really felt any prosperity was the 4 that Donald Trump was president. Tell me that I'm lying. Are you going to trust propaganda over your own eyes, over your own pockets, over your own reality? I guarantee you that you made more money under Donald Trump's tenure than you did in those 12 freaking years of Obama and Biden. Mawa Studios said this Drake shit really bothered AM. Laughed my ass off. Why do you think it bothered me? Can anybody answer that question? Anybody answer that question? Mawa, why did it bother me? I want to see if you've been paying attention. Or if you're just another one of these individuals that can only think on the surface level. Why did it bother me? Why did it bother me? Because I'm going to tell you something. The biggest mistake any of you niggas can make when you dealing with the Angryman is to assume that I'm shallow. Is to assume that I'm upset about something over some frivolous reason. It's part of the reason why y'all don't never hit that link to come up here, because you don't want to be made to look like a fool. What's the reason it bothered me? What's the reason? Tell me. Tell me, Mawa. What's the reason it bothered me? Tell me the reason it bothered me. He said the perceptions of authentic blackness. Surface level bullshit. Y'all see that? Surface level bullshit. Let me break down to you why it bothered me. It bothered me because anybody that is an actual fan of hip hop that is not swayed by public opinion and peer pressure, someone that really sat down and listened to those songs bar for bar, while Euphoria, in my personal opinion, was Kendrick's best attempt to go at Drake. It started out mid, it finally cranked up towards the end, but not enough in my opinion. Family Matters' second verse alone decimated anything that anybody put up against Drake. Whether it be K-Dot, Rick Ross, A$AP Rocky, The Weeknd, Future, whoever. That second verse decimated them. And anybody with a non-biased viewpoint is going to say the same. The reason why it bothered me is because this is a prime example of how easily black people are peer pressured into operating a certain way. Black people, not K-Dot. Black people decided that K-Dot won. And now, anywhere you go on social media where someone is a Drake fan or someone is saying Drake won, there is a cult of K-Dot followers that are attacking them relentlessly online. The only reason they stopped attacking me is because I can give back the same energy. I'm not going to get sick and tired of you Negroes trying to peer pressure me into giving the win to K-Dot. But you're definitely going to get sick and tired of me breaking this shit down logically and making y'all look like the jackasses that you are. Because to be truthfully honest, it's some juvenile high school nigga shit. You like K-Dot more, so because you like him more, you want him to have the victory, even if he didn't earn it. And part of the reason you like him more is because his ass is black like yours. And the last thing you want to do is give the victory or the crown to a half-white, light-skinned dude from Canada that you deemed to be a nerd that as he was coming up. So because he wasn't a block hugger that sold drugs and shot at people and got into fights and engaged in all kinds of ignorant crime and activities, you don't want to call him a real one. Which is ironic because you have the nerve to sit back and pretend that K-Dot has the moral high ground. When you look at K-Dot, he's actually repping a set. For all of the things that K-Dot is accusing Drake of, his buddies over there in LA have done that and worse. And you expose something that nobody wants to admit. Y'all want to know what they exposed? Y'all want to know what they exposed? What they exposed is that most of you Negroes don't care if a dude beats his woman. That's what you exposed. Ain't nobody bringing it up and ain't nobody talking about it, but I'll talk about it. That's what you exposed. From K-Dot being accused of it, going all the way back to 2014 with that incident with that lady in that hotel, to Dr. Dre and Michelle A. Having Dr. Dre come out and freaking introduce K-Dot at that pop-out concert, to YG recently getting in trouble for the same thing. I've even seen a clip where somebody, I can't remember what clip it was on TikTok, where somebody was like, okay, he said that K-Dot hit his woman. So what? That's what they said. Somebody said she's screaming in her latest IG post. She's screaming, save me in her latest IG post too. Yeah, I saw it this morning. Let me pull it up for y'all. Well, let me pull it up for y'all. So, in her latest post, she said, it's been a while. Still thanking God for every day I get the opportunity to experience life, even on days I say F this ish. Waking up, putting my uniform on, jeans one leg at a time, and a tank top over my bald head, G.I. Jane in this B, living inside my answered prayers, loving me, loving my family, working daily to assist in lifting the collective frequency, could use y'all's help on this one. Happy to be outside in the sun, chilling with my babies, grateful for the opportunity to be their mommy, learning to see life the way they see it because my way seems a little warped. They are the inspiration behind the work that I'm doing through love. Ethos, my new baby, I'm excited for more healing and writing the next chapter in my book of life. I hope life is being good to y'all too. And in every photo is just her and her kids. No sign, and of course she had to wear the PG Lang shirt, to throw it off. By the way, we're supposed to believe that that woman is blacker than Drake. We're supposed to believe that this woman right here is blacker than Drake. Shout out to KJ. He said, keep cooking. Did that post sound like? I'm going to tell you what that post sounded like. That post sounded like typical single mother shit. Correct me if I'm wrong. Correct me if I'm wrong. That post sounded like typical single mother shit. Yo, if you just coming in here, make sure you hit the like button. Make sure you hit the Cash App and support the show. We don't have a sponsor. We need a sponsor for the show. We need at least one sponsor. Now, the irony is most of these folks out here, they running around trying to pretend that Drake ain't dropping fire. In fact, I came across this right here. Watch this.
I just came here to vent real quick to y'all. I went to the Future concert last night at State Farm Arena in Atlanta. And spoiler alert, it was not a good concert, right? No shots to Future and his music. You know, Future, he got good music. Turn that motherfucker, his songs, he got slaps and shit. But the concert was not good. Concert started at 8. Opening act ain't go on to 9:15, 9:14, something like that. They ain't have no performance etiquette. They screaming over they actual records versus getting performance versions made where it's just only the stacks of the ad libs and then let them be the lead vocals. Then after they done, we don't get right into the show. We back to like Spotify or Pandora playing music. For the life of me, I don't understand why you don't have a DJ for a concert. I'm not saying this as a DJ. I'm saying this as a patron of the concert, right? So we waiting. Concert finally from the start. So it's Future and Metro Boomin. So Metro Boomin, he's not an artist, right? He's not gonna rap or sing. So he's gonna play the songs that he produced. And I guess somehow he was trying to do this as a DJ or like a DJ. Metro Boomin beats cold, G. So I don't understand his lack of ability to be able to blend everything seamlessly. It's a mic check. Hold on, Atlanta. And you can tell he's not just cutting one song, talking one to the next one. You can tell he's trying to transition or do a clean segue between them. Bro, you're a producer. You could have made this like a set. You could have reproduced some of this shit so that it intertwines and is basically like After Effects or post-production. Or you go from one song to another to another. It was just killing the vibe of it. Then Future ain't even really get introduced. He kind of just popped up on stage in the back like motherfuckers couldn't see him. I damn near feel like they should have started the tour with "We Still Don't Trust You." Like, I know it's called "We Trust You," but y'all drop "We Don't Trust You," and we still don't trust you. The song selection. Future been out over 10 years. His song selection was honestly butt of the shit that he did. I don't want to give y'all a spoiler of what he did just in case you do plan on going to the concert. I'm confused on how they were still playing songs that got Drake features on them. It doesn't matter if they play Drake verse or not. Y'all over beefing with Drake hard as hell. Why y'all still playing stuff that y'all did with Drake? It's almost like you still need him. I don't know. Who am I? I'm just a concert goer. Then...
Yeah, they need to change the name of their tour from "We Don't Trust You" to "We Need You Back." Because they not going to come out and say it. They're not going to come out and say it. They're not going to tell y'all. But this beef, it's hurting some of these dudes financially. This beef is hurting some of these dudes financially. They're not going to admit it. But it's hurting them financially. They're not going to admit it, but it is hurting them financially. Yo, shout out to Kevin. Said, they not like us. OVO crew thought I told you. Appreciate you, bro. Shout out to John. He said, for the knowledge of realness. Appreciate you. Shout out to NDB Timmy. He said, for the show. Let's see. We got my man Aaron in the building. Aaron said, Donald Trump did come from a money family, true. But as Michael Franzese will say, the former prince of the Colombo family would say, though Donald Trump stayed clean to work New York, he had to work the streets with the Harlem people, the Irish, the Italian mob families, etc. So yes, Donald Trump is the first black president. He is the same as Hove. He couldn't pour one slab, lay one piece of iron, or hang any glass without working with the kings of the streets of New York. Now he's king and the king of the streets, and y'all want to dethrone the streetwise ninja who can make America king of the streets again. Y'all are dumb because he wants to bring y'all with him. That's facts. And shout out to Aaron for being a sponsor of the show. And Aaron dropped another one. He said, and to those who don't know what I'm talking about, I sat in courtrooms opposite Sammy the Bull and Shaun White when some of my soldiers in my command were busted running Crank and E in Arizona from Nogales in the 1990s. Donald is the real deal. Appreciate you, bro. Shout out to Sergio. He said, awesome show. Appreciate you, bro. Let's see. Appreciate you for being a sponsor.
$50 boss up. Stack up and match up.
Now, I actually saw the clip where I actually saw that clip. That clip has been circulating around TikTok, I think, where Michael, I forgot how you pronounce his name. See if I can find the clip. He basically said that Donald Trump, they couldn't get to Donald Trump. Let me see if I can find it.
The $6 million question that I've been trying to avoid, but I can't avoid anymore, was Donald Trump tied up with the mob? Listen in. Hey everyone, welcome to another Sit Down with Michael Francis. Hope everybody is doing well. And before we get into today's subject, I just want to mention a couple of things, a little bit of house cleaning. My book, Blood Cup, there's a link below. You shouldn't, Michael, you have a... But I have to deal with something, and it's a name, it's probably the most volatile name in the country, and it has been for a long time, and obviously that's the name of Donald Trump. And, the people that are for Donald Trump are very emotional. The people that are against Donald Trump, very emotional. And he's not the president anymore, so we don't have to deal with that. That's out. So it's not a question that he has influence in that regard anymore. He's not sitting in the Oval Office. But I get asked all the time, Michael, what do you know about Donald Trump's connections to the mob? You are a New Yorker. You were heavily involved during his time. He's a bit older than me, but yes, that was my time when Donald was building quite heavily in the New York area. So I'm going to comment about that today, and I'm going to tell you what I know to be a fact, and I'm going to try to explain some things to you. Now, I want to be clear on this. I'm not going to talk about Donald Trump's, business dealings, and people have accused him of shady dealings and, doing all of that. I'm not going to comment on that because, quite honestly, I don't really know about that. I don't know what he did in his business dealings. I have some experience, with some things that he was involved in. I'm going to talk about that as it relates to the mob, my former life, the Colombo family, other families. I'm going to talk about it. I'm going to tell you what I know, and hopefully I'm going to explain some things to you and clarify what actually being involved with the mob means and dealing with the mob. It's two separate things, and I'm going to explain that. So, Donald Trump, obviously a big developer in Manhattan, Trump Towers and other buildings that he's put together. We know that. He was also in Atlantic City. He had the Trump Tower there, the casino, which was a lot of problems for him. But let me tell you my personal involvement with Trump, and it came actually in two ways. Roy Cohn. I don't know if you know who that is. Very famous attorney. He was the counsel for Senator McCarthy during the McCarthy hearings when they were going after all the communists in this country. And Roy Cohn made a name for himself during that time. And he became known as somewhat of a fixer, fixer attorney, very high profile, had his connections, obviously, with McCarthy and other people in Congress. So people used him allegedly to be a fixer. Let me tell you my personal experience with Roy Cohn. Now, he did represent mob figures. He was counsel at times to Fat Tony Salerno, boss of the Genovese family. Mentioned his names many times. Many of you know who he is. Paul Castellano, he did some work with him at times. I don't know if he actually represented them in any legal proceeding, but he did things for them. Let's put it that way. So I get a call one time from Roy Cohn, and this was just right after I was indicted by Rudy Giuliani on a big racketeering case in the Southern District of New York, Manhattan. And Roy calls me up. I had met him once or twice before at different gatherings, hello, goodbye, that kind of a thing. And I had met him once at a private club in Manhattan with Donald Trump, because he did represent Donald Trump in a number of things. Exactly what, I don't know. But in Donald's business, Roy Cohn did represent him. Now, the fact that Roy Cohn represented Donald Trump and Fat Tony Salerno and Paul Castellano, that doesn't immediately make the connection that Donald Trump is associated with the mob. He was associated with the attorneys. Attorneys represent different people. So anyway, I'll get back to that. But Roy calls me up, Michael, I want to see you. I understand you got a problem. Okay. I go meet him in his office in New York. And he says to me, Mike, look, my associations with Fat Tony and, blah, blah, blah. He mentioned names. I said, yes, Roy, I do. He said, you got a problem in the Southern District. I said, yes, I do. He said, you've been indicted on a major racketeering case. The underlying act is extortion. It's shylocking. And you're the principal in the case. I had 15 co-defendants. It was me and one other guy. We were the principals in the case. And I said, I know all of that, Roy. He says, well, I can help you out. I can get it fixed. I said, really? He said, yes. I said, how are you going to do that? He said, I can get the indictment squashed. I said, okay. Now I already know. Let me tell you something. The fact that a lawyer represents the mob doesn't always mean that he's going to be the fine, upstanding, honorable, perfect guy, okay? I already know where this is going. He says, I can fix the case. I can get the indictment dropped. I said, okay, speak to me. What do you need, Roy? I can't remember the figure. It was either $250,000 or $500,000. I don't remember. So, it's a little...
Shout out to Seeker of Truth. He says supporting the live stream.
250 or $500,000, whatever it was at the time. And I'll get the indictment dropped. I said, okay. Now, people, let me tell you something. I have never heard of a federal indictment being dropped once somebody was indicted. Can the charges go away? Can you beat the case? Of course. But the indictment just being dropped? I've never heard of that. Not in a mob case. I'm not saying it's never happened. I don't know. I haven't done the research. But I can tell you in a mob case, never happened. A high-profile case like mine, where I'm the lead defendant, big publicity case, not going to happen. I said, Roy, I'll tell you what I'm going to do. I said, if I had to go to trial on this case with all these defendants, the year that I'm going to have to spend, in investigations, working with an attorney, defending myself, the amount of time I'm going to have to spend on trial, for me, you got to take care of, you got to face the whole thing. Look, to do this, there's been a lot of theories out there because of Roy Cohn, was about the union, the cement club.
So hold on, he's talking about one of the lawyers that represented Donald Trump, right? I'm trying to get to the part where he talks about Donald Trump.
Towers. We paid cash, $1 million. You bring it forward. Let's see it. Let's hear it. Roy Cohn or anybody else, so he can get his jobs done, involved in any way. In that time, without dealing with the unions, and because of Roy Cohn, Donald get it done. You're not, you're not a poor guy. Lose by being caught in a courtroom all the time. It's going to cost me $1.5 million, $2 million. He said, that's right, Michael. I want to save you all of that. I said, but I'll tell you what I'm going to do. So it's worth it for me to pay more than what you want. I'm going to put $1 million in an escrow account. $1 million. That's a lot more than you asked for, at least double. You get the indictment dropped, keep it all. It's worth the money for me. His response was exactly what I knew it would be. Well, Michael, I got to take care of some people, and it's not going to happen. I said, but you just told me definitely you can get it done. You're not, you're not a poor guy. Spend the money, take care of who you got to take care of. You got $1 million in escrow. What are you worried about? It's a guaranteed deal, isn't it, Roy? Bottom line is he wouldn't accept that because there was no way he was going to get the indictment dropped. He would have told me this and that and that. But don't worry, Mike, I'll put it towards your representation. I'm going to take care of you. We'll beat the case, the whole thing. Look, I wasn't a new kid on the block. I've been through this for time and time and time again. And I even discussed this at one point with my associates. And they said, Mike, you're too smart for that. Forget about it. Anyway, that's my association with Roy Cohn. So now, getting back to the Donald Trump thing. Yes, okay, he did represent Donald Trump. And yes, he did represent certain mob figures. But I'm going to challenge you all to do this. There's been a lot of theories out there. Because of Roy Cohn, Donald Trump is involved with the mob. I can tell you this. Did Donald Trump have to deal with the mob? Yes, he did. Just like Leon Helmsley had to deal with the mob. Just like every major contractor in New York had to deal with the mob because we control the unions. You do not get a major contracting job done in New York during that time without dealing with the unions. And if you dealt with the unions, you dealt with us because we controlled them. The whole mob commission case was about the union, the cement club, the contractors. It was all about the union involvement with all of these major developers. Who was getting paid off, who was being extorted. That's what the case was about. Donald Trump's name did not come up in that commission case as somebody involved in any way, okay? So here's the deal. Did Donald Trump use Roy Cohn to maybe get some favorable treatment, so that he can get his buildings built? Yes, he did. And so did many others. You had to. So Donald maybe used his connections, with Roy Cohn or anybody else, so he can get his jobs done and we wouldn't bleed him to death like we might have done with some other people? Yes. Does that make him an associate of the mob? No. Was he doing us favors? Was he, part of sitting in the social clubs with us? No. I'm telling you, he wasn't. I've never seen it. I've never heard it. If there's government surveillance reports that say something different, I challenge you, bring it forward. Let's see it. Let's hear it. You don't think they would have went after him? You don't think as president all of this would have come out? They were trying in every which way to dirty him up. You don't think it would have came out, hey, we got tape recordings with Donald Trump sitting down with Fat Tony or Joe or John Gotti or whoever you want to mention. I didn't see it. You don't think it would have happened? During the Mueller investigation, I'll tell you more of my involvement with Donald Trump. I was in the gasoline business. I had Russian partners. One particular guy, his name was David. I'll leave it at that. One of my Russian friends. Okay? He and I bought some condos at Trump Towers. We paid cash, millions of dollars for them. My associate in the gas business, David, he had an associate in Russia. I think it was a family member that was part of the KGB. As a result of that, and we bought these condos back in the early 80s. As a result of that, I got questioned, I'm not going to tell you by who, during the Mueller investigation, because it came out that my friend David was the front guy buying them at that time. And they came to me and they tried to establish a mob connection with Russia, a Trump connection with Russia, as a result of him buying those him selling those condos to me and David Bogatin. That was his name. I just said it, David Bogatin. And I said to them, you people are really reaching. Well, Trump, I understand, he took the cash. I said, wait a second. We didn't hand him the cash. We went through the process there at the time. Well, why did he take cash? Well, why not? We gave him cash. I don't know I don't know what he did with it after that. Did he claim it on his tax? I don't know what he did with it. Cash is good money, isn't it? Isn't it? It's printed by the United States government. It's good money. What's wrong with it? So yeah, we paid in cash at the time. They tried to establish a mob connection during the Mueller investigation as a result of that, or a Russian connection, because my partner was Russian and allegedly had ties to the KGB. It had nothing to do with us buying that apartments at that point in time. It was condos, okay? So I am here to tell you this. I have seen no evidence. I heard nothing on the street. I've never had any conversations with anybody that said to me, Donald Trump is with us. We got him in our pocket. He's working with us. Don't worry about it. I'll get you a special deal through Donald in Atlantic City or here or anything else. I've never heard that. Now, if somebody has evidence to the contrary.
Now, there's another video. There's another video where he's talking about it, where he said flat out, he said Donald Trump used to hire security that were like former FBI agents and stuff like that. He said, so the mob knew that trying to go at Donald Trump about some kind of, business arrangement that's off the books or something that should, that is not legal or whatever, they knew not to do that. Because if they did that, they knew they were going to get in trouble. In other words, Donald Trump, as a real estate guy, was a straight shooter. He was a straight shooter. Now, did he use connections that everybody else uses that's perfectly legal to do? Yes. But they love to try to, like, I've said this so many times, right? With the way they went after Donald Trump and his family, if there was anything earth-shattering, if there was anything that could have got him in real trouble, it would have came out. It would have came out. It's interesting because one day, this is back when Trump was still president. I think this was in 2019. My father had came over to my house, right? And my father was like, when Joe Biden get elected, Donald Trump is going to jail. And I didn't say anything to him because when my mother and my father talk about Donald Trump, I just let them say what they're going to say. I'm not about to argue with them, partially because of the way I was raised. You know what I'm saying? I was raised not to really go at my elders like that. My elders that are in my family that I respect, I try not to go at them about it, right? But I remember thinking to myself, lock him up for what? If there was anything that they could genuinely lock him up for, they would have done it. And here's the funny thing about it, right? Everybody's running around crying about the immunity thing. Because right now, when they were planning on sentencing him in September, but the district attorney of New York has now decided to postpone the sentencing until after the election. And he claims it's because of the Supreme Court decision about presidential immunity, right? Now, this is what people don't know. This is what most people don't know. Anytime somebody challenges something that is already law, that is already on the books, where do they challenge it at, y'all? Somebody tell me, where do they challenge it at? Anytime there is a law or something on the books and somebody doesn't like it and they want to challenge it, where do they challenge it at? Supreme Court, right? How many of you remember when I did my stream some years back, when I was doing the Street Conservative? How many of you remember when I said that a president cannot be prosecuted at the state level? How many of y'all remember me saying that a president has a certain degree of immunity because he cannot be prosecuted for things that he does as an acting president. How many of y'all remember me saying that? How many of y'all remember saying that? Like, even if he does something that is deemed illegal, he has to be impeached. In other words, he has to be, they have to bring an impeachment. An impeachment of a president is an indictment, right? So a president gets impeached, a regular person gets indicted. The same way an indictment does not necessarily mean you're guilty, being impeached does not necessarily mean you're guilty. See, most people think being impeached means you were removed from office. No. You get impeached the same way a regular person gets indicted. Once you get indicted, you now have to have your day in court and you have to be found guilty in order for you to be sentenced or whatever, right? So with a president, you have to be impeached. And then once you're impeached, it is then on the Senate to try you. And if you're found guilty, then you're removed from office. But like I said back then, you're not going to see a president do jail time. I said that, right? Now, I don't know what the city of New York was thinking. I feel like they only did this because they knew it would tarnish his reputation or hurt his chances of being president again, because they knew they weren't going to lock him up. They knew that. At the end of the day, I'm surprised they were bold enough to even find him guilty, right? I don't know what's going on with Georgia. I don't know what's going on with these lawmakers, these officials that think that they could prosecute a former president for something that he did while he was president at the state level. You can't do that. Now, the whole reason why the Supreme Court came with this decision, and most people don't understand this, the Supreme Court did not make a decision that a president has immunity. They defended the fact that he has immunity. They defended the fact that he has immunity. Like, when that Supreme Court case came out, I already knew what time it was. Already knew what time it was. Because you cannot prosecute a president for doing something in the commission of his presidential duties. And of course, I'm talking about the documents that they claimed were classified. Because the reality is, and people don't understand this, the president has presidential powers to declassify any documents. He has the ability to do that. So if a president is in office and he declassifies classified documents and he wants to keep those documents, he has the ability to do that as president. Now, the interesting thing about it is Joe Biden did the exact same thing. The only problem was Joe Biden was vice president at the time. He wasn't the president. And so he was supposed to get in trouble for that. But what they said is that he was not competent to stand trial. So while they're sitting around here talking about Donald Trump is basically the same age as Joe Biden. And now they're trying to act like Donald Trump has cognitive issues. Well, if that's the case, Why did you prosecute him and not Joe Biden for the same exact thing? And the whole thing with the hush money with Stormy Daniels, that's ridiculous because that's not even illegal. That's not even illegal, right? But like I said, they have been trying their best to figure out some kind of way to lock that man up. And like I said before, if he had did anything that was really worthy of being locked up, that would have came out a long time ago. That would have came out during his presidency. That would have came out during his presidency. I wish I could find that clip. I wish I could find that clip where he's talking about nobody was willing to. Oh, you know what? It wasn't him. It was Sammy the Bull. It was Sammy the Bull Gravano that brought it up. Yo, shout out to Xavier. Appreciate you. Shout out to Jerome. He said Trump would have not run if he was that dirty, in my opinion. That's facts. Let's see. Let's check out what Sammy the Bull had to say.
Get shaken down. When he's building shit in New York, Trump was the one guy who couldn't get shaken down. When he's building shit in New York, he was surrounded by other dudes.
He didn't really want to get involved.
Yeah.
He was up in his tower. He had ex-FBI agents who was his security. So you couldn't really push too much with him. The prices came up. When you wanted to fuck with him, we had the unions associates. We could fuck with him. He paid the VIG, more or less, but not face to face.
Not direct, yeah.
He was pretty smart about it. I was trying to get in his pockets and couldn't get there, and I said, fuck him. Let's keep doing what we're doing. This is too dangerous. He's got FBI wrapped around him, so if we keep pushing, we're going to go to jail. I was street smart, because he knew the game. He knew what was going on, and he stayed and pushed back.
He came up in the New York construction business. You got to be a rough fucking dude. You're dealing with the roughest of the rough. You're dealing with criminals. You're dealing with everybody. Right?
But I heard Trump.
That's Sammy the Bull. That's Sammy the Bull talking about it. He said he tried his best. He tried his best to get in Donald Trump's pockets, but he couldn't do it because Donald Trump had ex-FBI agents as his security. You know what I'm saying? He couldn't do it, so the mafia couldn't really mess with him, which it tells you a lot about Donald Trump's thinking. It tells you a lot about the way he moves and the way he thinks and the way he operates. You feel me? And here's the thing. Here's the thing that I noticed that nobody wants to acknowledge. Donald Trump is not scary. He's not a scary guy as far as being, afraid of you know what I'm saying? Like he literally had meetings as a president. He literally had meetings with some of the most dangerous political leaders. Does anybody realize, like, Does anybody realize that Putin actually respects Donald Trump? How many of you in here know how dangerous Putin is? Like, does anybody have even a clue, even an idea of who Putin is? The mere fact that a guy like Putin respects Donald Trump, the freaking, also the leader of North Korea. Do you have any idea what type of guy Donald Trump would have to be in order for them to respect him? See, the crazy thing about it is, for all you black folk that keep running your mouth. See, the thing about black folk only care about what goes on in America. And to be truthfully honest, they don't even care about that totally. Black people just care about what goes on in the hood, what goes on in black communities. They don't understand the geopolitical landscape, right? They don't understand that a lot of the problems we've had in the past almost 4 years is because of the simple fact that the leaders of the world don't respect Joe Biden. They don't respect him. They don't fear him. And that's the reason why certain things have occurred that most black people don't pay any attention to, that have a serious effect on our lives and our lifestyle. See, places like Venezuela would not be sending their prisoners, their riffraff, their undesirables to the southern border if Donald Trump was president. And the reason why is because he would make Venezuela pay for that. And I don't mean pay in the sense of money. Okay, he would put some kind of economic sanctions. He would do something. He would get on the phone and he would call them. And he said, look, stop sending them people to the southern border. Or we're going to do XYZ. Flat out. That's the way he rolls. That's the way he rolls. He'll fix it so that countries cannot do business with America. Right? Which is a big deal. And he plays hardball. Okay? And this is the reason why other leaders of other countries respect him. And here's the reality, black folk. He may not be the president. He may not be the leader that you like or even the leader that you want, but he's the one you need. He's the one you need. Because, see, the problem with Americans is Americans now, we used to be tough. We used to be tough as nails. Now, America has become a country filled with a bunch of bleeding heart liberals. You're always so worried about what America's doing to the rest of the world. And you don't even realize that the rest of the world don't care about America. If they're given an opportunity to take advantage of us, they will. And you know who's going to pay and suffer when they do? You, the average everyday person. You're going to feel the effects of that. Joe Biden ain't going to feel it. The Democrats that are in public office, they're not going to feel it. You're going to feel it. The average everyday person is going to feel it. And it's sad because black folk really do not understand what's at stake. They don't understand what's at stake. Shout out to Jerome. He said there's a method to the madness with Trump. Most people don't understand that. Well, nowadays, the problem is because we've had so many people that have been brought up in this sort of soft upbringing, people think that you can negotiate with world leaders with kind words and friendship and all of those different things. And you can't. You can't. Being a president is no different than being a mob boss. It's no different than being a military general. It's no different than being a freaking kingpin. The moment that other groups see weakness, they're going to attack. In some way, shape, or form, they're going to attack. And the reason why is because everybody is vying for power. Everybody is trying to grab, when we're talking about world leaders, everybody's trying to grab as much power as they can. Why? Because every country in the world wants to be the number one country. Every country in the world wants to be the number one superpower. And right now, I can tell you this. If they didn't respect Joe Biden, what makes you think they're going to respect Kamala Harris? They see what's going on over here. You think they're blind to it? You think they don't know her lack of experience? And see, the funniest thing about it, you got folks, even my homeboy Izzy Bands was over there talking about the Democrats and the Republicans are the same. Like, y'all got to get out of that thought process. Y'all got to get out of that thought process. Look, first of all, this is what you need to understand. They have never treated a presidential candidate like this. That should tell you everything you need to know. If Donald Trump was part of their club, they wouldn't be treating him like this. This isn't the first time we've had a Republican nominee for president. Did they treat George Bush Jr. like this? No. Did they treat George Bush Sr. like this? No. Did they treat Ronald Reagan like this? No. Did they treat Richard Nixon like this? No. They have never treated a presidential candidate, much less a guy that was a sitting president. They have never treated a president with this level of disrespect. It has never happened in my lifetime. The only president that I could think of that they disrespected this much would either be Abraham Lincoln or John F. Kennedy. Those are the only two presidents that I could think of that they treated this disrespectfully. And hell, we can't even say they treated Kennedy like this because the people loved Kennedy. But I know they treated Abraham Lincoln with disrespect. Hey, yo, we need 10 people to hit the Cash App and support the show. We need 10 folk to hit the Cash App and support the show, man. I've been cooking this whole time, and we still low on the support. Y'all still in y'all feelings about Drake and K-Dot? I don't see how you can argue with the logic. I don't see how you can argue with the logic. Y'all still in y'all feelings about Drake and K-Dot. Hit the Cash App and support the show. Yo, shout out to Diana. Appreciate you. Shout out to Tahiri. So you literally got mob bosses that have came out and said, you got New York mob bosses that have come out and said, nah, we couldn't get to Trump. Shout out to Jalen. And by the way, shout out to Matt Walsh. How many of y'all know who Matt Walsh is? How many of y'all know who Matt Walsh is? How many of y'all know who Matt Walsh is? So, Matt Walsh went to the DNC in disguise. He literally trolled them in real life. Check this out. Bro has no chill. Bruh, he's at the DNC with a Kamala Harris. Bruh. Bruh. I'm sorry. That's funny. I don't care what nobody says, bruh. I don't care what nobody said. That's freaking hilarious. Oh. Oh my goodness. Bro showed up with a disguise. He had some kind of wig on. That's hilarious. I don't care what nobody say. He's straight. Exactly. He infiltrated. Yo, do you know how lax the security had to be for him to do that? like nobody recognized him? Like not a single soul recognized him. Oh. Not a soul recognized him. But anyway, I've been on here long enough, man. I've been talking smack long enough. I'm pretty sure I done pissed off enough people. Shout out to everybody that came through, man. I appreciate you guys for tuning in to the show. If you have not, make sure you go over and check out the book, The Angryman Standard, available on Amazon. All you have to do is type The Angryman Standard in the search bar on Amazon and it will come up. Or you can click the link down in the description. Shout out to Robert. Appreciate you. But we about to get up out of here, man. Salute to everybody that came through. Shout out to the sponsors, as always. Y'all already know how we do. Salute to the whole BINO Nation. I'ma holler at you guys later. Deuces.
Spartans! What is your profession?